Let's talk about a language that most of us can feel, but very few of us actually understand. It's the silent, powerful signal of defensiveness. We're going to go deep into the biological security system that can completely shut down a negotiation, a pitch, or any crucial conversation way before you even realize you're in a fight. And look, this isn't about simple body language tips. This is about understanding the very operating system of human interaction. Okay, let's get into it.
You know, we're always taught to watch out for the obvious signs of aggression, right? The loud voice, the chest puffed out. But the real physics of influence, well, it tells a very different story. The biggest threats to connection, they're not loud at all. They're quiet. They're about withdrawal, about somebody just disappearing right in front of you. The real story is being told by the person who's constructing a silent wall, brick by brick.
So, here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to identify that silent wall. Then we'll pinpoint the exact moment a conversation really dies. We'll decode the system behind it, what we call the biological firewall, and get into why logic completely breaks down in these moments. And then, most importantly, we'll get to the solution, how you can invite an open body, which leads to the only conversation that actually matters.
Okay, let's start with the core concept here. We are talking about a hardwired, ancient survival mechanism. It operates completely beneath the surface of our conscious thoughts, and it dictates the entire flow of trust and connection.
Think of this as your brain's primal security software. You've got the limbic brain, that's the fast, emotional, instinctual part, and it's constantly scanning the environment for threats. Now, when it senses any kind of attack on our status, our personal space, or just our basic safety, it sounds an alarm. These defensive signals, they're the physical printout of that alarm. And believe me, they tell a story our words are often trying very hard to hide.
All right, let's put this into a situation we've all been in. That moment in a meeting where it feels like the temperature just dropped 20 degrees, and you suddenly feel like you're talking to a brick wall. This, right here, is where the trap closes.
You know this pattern, you've seen it, you're making your point, you're laying out all the facts, and then you see it happen. The arms cross over the chest like a shield, the chin dips down just a little, guarding the neck. Maybe a hand comes up and starts rubbing the back of their neck. And right then, you realize your perfectly logical arguments, they're just bouncing off. You're losing them. And pushing harder just makes that wall even higher.
And here's the absolute leverage point you have to understand. The second those signals appear, the conversation you thought you were having is over. It's done. You are now perceived as a threat. You're an intruder in their psychological red zone. This triggers what we call relational friction, which makes connection totally impossible, and it leads to decision paralysis, where they literally can't agree with you. You're trying to talk to the logical part of their brain, but it's been taken offline by a much older, much more powerful system.
So how does this shutdown actually work? Well, it's not random at all. It's a predictable escalating sequence. We call it the shield and distance loop, or the biological firewall.
This firewall goes up in 4 distinct stages, and each one raises the defenses a little higher. It starts with the body trying to make itself a smaller target. That's the compression signal. Then comes the barrier build. Think crossed arms. After that, it prepares an escape route with the lead leg heading. And finally, it tries to calm its own nervous system down with something called a pacification reset. Let's break these.
So that first stage, compression, is pure survival instinct. It's something called ventral denial. The ventral side of our body, that's our neck, our chest, our stomach, is where all our vital organs are. It's our most vulnerable area. So when we feel threatened, our brain's #1 priority is to protect it. This is what we call the turtle effect. The shoulders hunch up, the chin drops down to hide the neck. They're literally, unconsciously, trying to become a smaller, less vulnerable target.
Okay, so once the body has shielded itself, it starts to prepare for escape. And this brings us to one of the most honest signals in all of human behavior, the lead leg heading. See, the torso might stay pointed right at you, that's just social politeness. But the feet, oh, the feet don't lie. They are the most honest part of the body. If someone's feet are pointed towards the door, it means their flight response is fully activated. Their brain has already decided it wants out. The body is just waiting for the green light.
And finally, after shielding and planning for flight, we get the pacification reset. When you see someone rubbing their neck or stroking their arm or fiddling with their watch, it's not just a nervous habit. What's happening is their body is flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone, which is signaling a high-threat situation. Self-touching like that actually releases calming hormones like oxytocin. It's the body's way of pumping the brakes on that cortisol spike. They are literally trying to self-soothe right in front of you. So we've seen what happens. Now let's get into the deep neurobiology of why it happens. I mean, why does a simple disagreement in an office trigger such a primal, dramatic response? This is really the core question, isn't it? Why in a modern boardroom does our brain react like we're facing a predator out on the savannah? Well, the answer lies in a powerful phenomenon known as the limbic hijack.
This chart breaks down the internal conflict perfectly. You've got your rational brain, what psychologists call System 2 thinking. It's slow, it's deliberate, it wants to cooperate. But then you have the survival brain, or System 1. It's lightning fast, purely instinctive, and its only priority is safety. In a threat, the amygdala, the brain's little smoke detector, hijacks the whole system. It diverts all energy to the survival brain, which effectively cuts off the rational mind from logic, creativity, and cooperation. It's not that they're refusing to listen to you. On a neurological level, they're literally unable to.
Okay, so we get the problem, we get the system behind it. How do we dismantle the firewall? Well, the key here is to shift your role. You have to stop being the perceived threat and instead become a stabilizing anchor in the conversation.
There are 3 strategic countermeasures to do this. First, you mentally label the shield. Just noticing it keeps your own rational brain online. Second, you have to consciously expose your own ventral side to signal safety. And third, you find a gentle way to break the physical barrier they put up, whether it's their crossed arms or even just an object they're holding.
So, how do you actually signal safety? Well, you do the exact opposite of what their defensive brain is doing. It's called ventral exposure. Instead of compressing, you open up. Show your open palms. That's a universal signal for I have no weapon. Unbutton your suit jacket to expose your torso. Lean back just a little, signaling you're not about to pounce. These small, nonverbal cues speak directly to their limbic system. You're telling it, the threat is gone, it's safe to stand down.
And let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation. This is about a much higher form of ethical influence. When you master these signals, you become what we call a safety node. You become that person in the room whose very presence lowers the heart rate and the stress levels of everybody else. And that is a source of incredible power and trust. You're not dominating the room, you're stabilizing.
All right, let's bring all this home. What's the single most important thing to take away from our time today? What's the one principle you absolutely need to remember?
Here it is. The ultimate takeaway is this. The moment you see the shield, the crossed arms, the hunched shoulders, you have to stop trying to win the argument. Stop pushing your logic. Because at that point, you are no longer talking to their rational mind. The body's conversation always happens first. And if you lose that conversation, you simply cannot win the other one.
And that leaves us with the final rule of engagement. We spend so much time crafting the perfect words to persuade an open mind, but we completely ignore the primal gatekeeper, the body. An open, receptive posture isn't the result of a great argument, it's the prerequisite for one. So invite physical safety first, and you'll find the path to an open mind is already clear.